Whether on the go or at the table, get lost in a conversation about everything coffee with your host, Eric Ortiz.
Hey, and welcome to Everything Coffee, a podcast that brings in different people weekly from all walks of life to talk about everything coffee. And today I'm joined by Jim Morton, owner of Liberty Beans Coffee Company, one half at least, a patriotic play on a roastery that pays homage to the United States and the men and women who have protected it. Both having backgrounds in teaching with his wife, heading towards retirement, and Jim having been a chef in the past, it is soon that Liberty Beans Coffee Co. would start featuring different roasts, origins, and even delivery methods for coffee, whether it be for events, fundraisers, or even direct to consumers. The company has seen much success across the country in contributing to the community and other projects along the way. You can visit Liberty Beans Coffee at libertybeanscoffee.com and on IG at Liberty Beans Coffee. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Jim Morton. Jim, how are you?
I couldn't be any better. Thanks so much for talking with us. We're honored to be part of your podcast.
No. It's actually a pleasure to have you on, and I'm so thrilled because it's a different aspect of coffee that we have yet to cover because of kind of how you operate and offer different variety services. It's just unique in the sense that we've never really talked to anyone in that case. But Jim, it's a great name, Liberty Beans Coffee Company. Tell me a little bit about how this all started, because I read right now that you used to teach. What did you used to teach, by the way?
So I'm a chef, and I taught culinary arts at a vocational high school.
Fantastic.
For over 20 years.
That's awesome. So you have quite the background already on your palate and understanding flavor and just nuances and just that world of food and service.
Yeah, I think that's one of the things that's unique about our coffee is that it is chef driven. That at the end of the day, it's all about the flavor in the cup. And my favorite thing is to get a new origin in and roast a sample of it, and kind of dial in the roast level, and then decide if it should be sold as a single origin or in a blend, and then what percentage of other beans should be added to it. So yeah, that's definitely the best part of my day.
Absolutely. And so you and your wife both co-own the company?
Correct. Yeah. So my wife is a scientist. She's actually a PhD scientist. She doesn't like me bragging about it that way, but so Diane also teaches. She's a high school science teacher. Teaches all types of science. And, the cool thing about our company is roasting coffee is the perfect combination of culinary arts and science. So she's definitely the brains and the beauty behind the operation, and I bring the palate, and together we got this thing rolling. We're pretty proud of it.
It was kind of how did one get into that realm of you're obviously in culinary arts, you do the teaching, your wife, science background, PhD, but how does one fall into the realm of all of a sudden, I own a roastery?
Yeah, that's a great question. So, we've both been teaching for over 20 years, and we were thinking, what are we going to do when we stop teaching? And obviously we wanted to stay active. I always had the entrepreneur bug. We have 2 children who are grown, and we'll talk about them a little bit. But, the long story is I was kind of searching online for small companies that were for sale, kind of food-related companies. We knew we didn't want a restaurant because that's just a very difficult road to be successful today.
Yeah, definitely.
And I found a small coffee roasting company that was for sale, and we weren't ready to buy the company, but I called and chatted the guy up. And afterwards I said to Diane, this is a pretty cool thing. I think we should buy a small roaster and see if I'm any good at roasting coffee.
And how'd that turn out for you, Jim?
Yeah, so it turned out pretty well. So we bought a small, Baymore sample coffee roaster in the garage.
Oh, wow.
Bought green beans, started giving them away to friends and neighbors to see if they liked it. And, the next thing you know, I'm writing a business plan, got some investors, and actually February 1 will be our second anniversary. And
congratulations.
Yeah, we did 5 times the revenue our second year as our first year. So yeah, we're pretty happy about that, and hopefully we can keep the ball rolling.
It sounds like you all have been successful, but I'd like to kind of just talk a little bit about that beginning point for you, because a lot of those that are listening into this podcast it's majority coffee people that understand it and love it as much. But for anyone that's ever been interested in just starting a business, I mean, you're in your later part of your life, not an old man by any means, but definitely a little later on in life. And we're already talking about retirement and looking towards the future. And obviously staying active is one of those things that is really important to you and your wife. But how does one just kind of prepare themselves for creating business plans and setting up some kind of future for yourself, knowing full well that it's kind of a dangerous prospect? I mean, what were those things that went in discussion with you and your wife, and in terms of you prospecting the idea of heading into coffee?
Yeah, that's a great question. And I think with the internet today, there are no excuses for anybody who, has the ambition to get after something for themselves. So, I just started Googling. I Googled, the specialty coffee industry, where it is at now, the projections of the future, the growth of the industry. I tried to do as much background research as I could as I was writing the business plan before, we approached anybody, any friends or family to say, hey, you want to invest in our company? I wanted to make sure that it was a viable industry to get into. And I think that's the most important thing. I think sometimes people have rose-colored glasses on and they have an idea in their head and they don't take the time to research the industry to see, is it, do the numbers make sense? Because, we fall in love with something and we don't pay attention to the math. And if the math doesn't work, then, especially because we have investors, we feel very beholden and responsible to them as well, as we do our customers. And, if the math doesn't make sense, then you just have to take a step back and reevaluate.
What would you say was the most challenging aspect of getting to this point, Jim? Because we're obviously going to be celebrating our second anniversary here with the company, but what was that barrier that you might not have expected going into all of this? Besides maybe not knowing exactly the roastery part and just kind of taking a whim at it, but what would that challenge have been?
Yeah, so I probably the biggest challenge was kind of the supply chain issues during the time we were getting this going. So, we rented a big warehouse space because, obviously we grew out of the garage very quickly. And, we ordered a state-of-the-art roaster, and it was delayed, I'd say, more than 6 months.
Oh, wow.
And we had already started, advertising, one part of our business is fundraising sales. And we already started advertising for that, and we're booking fundraisers, and we didn't have a roaster big enough to handle it. So luckily, I found a used, just a 5-pound BC roaster online, and that's what we bought to start the company with till our brand new state-of-the-art roaster came in. Beautiful,
and obviously the name Liberty Beans Coffee Company pays homage to, obviously, the United States and the men and women that came protected.
Yeah.
Tell me a little bit about your background with that, because it doesn't just come into just, I just want to have Liberty Beans. No, this means something more to you.
Yeah, I mean, it's not a political statement. It's, Diane and I feel very fortunate to be born in the United States, and, we're both teachers, and although Diane teaches science and I teach culinary arts, we both encourage our students to, how great this country is. And quite honestly, I used to say you can be anything you want, and I kind of changed that to you can be anything that you work to be. And if you have the work ethic and you have the knowledge, you can achieve anything. And it was kind of like, okay, well, time for us to put our words into action. We're telling all these kids that anything's possible. How about we try and make something happen for ourselves? So that was part of it. And the other part is we have a son who's an active duty Army combat medic.
Wow.
So, Yeah, so we knew we were going to have a patriotic company. And in fact, one of our most popular blends is called 68W. That's the call sign for Army Combat Medics. And we donate $1 per bag to the USO.
That is fantastic. First off, thank you for his service, because that is quite the tough challenge to be in the armed forces, especially nowadays in this world we live in. It seems a little precarious where we live in and what situations are occurring globally around us. But
yeah, I definitely, Diane and I definitely have some nervous moments, but we're very proud of them, and we're proud of our daughter as well, who works in higher education at the university level.
Absolutely. So tell me a little bit about the business itself now, because now that we've understood how you got into it, the challenges, the biggest aspects of those events, we now get into the business itself, which is kind of different than just selling coffee to consumers. You also create wholesale and then distributed that for different types of events like fundraisers and catering and things of that nature. But what percentage of the business is based off of those things, Jim?
Yeah, so another great question. And I think this is important for anybody who wants to start an e-commerce business to understand, and I didn't understand it when we first started, that although the online specialty coffee business is a huge market, it's not that easy to break into it. And, I had to learn a lot of social media strategies, which, to be quite honest, I really didn't want to learn, but I didn't have a choice. It's kind of, I'm 56. I'm not an old man, but I'm not a young man. And, all that social media is definitely a young person's game. But so we had to learn how to get our name out there. But still, just the regular online orders weren't quite enough, at least in the beginning. And quite literally, I was driving down the street, passing a soccer field, watching a bunch of teams playing soccer, and I just literally smacked myself in the head on my fundraising. All these teams, all these schools, they're all selling different products.
Yeah.
And why not coffee? And then talking to my wife, Diane, she's great at doing custom labels. So we put your custom label on our coffee bags, to promote your organization. And once we get one of those custom labels in a prospect's hands, a school or a team or an organization, it's a slam dunk. They're like, yeah, we're doing this. And so they make a good profit off it, and it's really helped us grow our business.
That is a unique idea. I have to be honest with you, I've never seen coffee. I was, back in my day, I was a Boy Scout and we did popcorn, and in high school, I think at some point, we needed some items, and we sold umbrellas. I live in El Paso, Texas, and the heat, and of course having an umbrella sometimes during these meets was important. So umbrellas was the most unique item that I remember ever selling, but coffee is something of interest, especially because it's going to sell. And I'm guessing these fundraisers do quite well, that they keep coming back to you.
Oh yeah. It's at least 50% of our revenue right now. And then it transitioned into other private label opportunities, such as, we have small silver bags and we do wedding labels on them for wedding favors, which again is something unique. There are some local companies that buy, small 4-ounce bags of coffee with their business card information on the label. So for instance, a plumbing company comes out to do an estimate on a job, and as they're leaving, they leave you a 4-ounce bag of coffee with their information on it. There's no other plumbing company doing that. So if it's between you and someone else and you're leaving a little gift, which, is very inexpensive for the company to do, they're learning that that's been very beneficial to them. So it's a win-win for everybody.
I got to tell you, Jim, I don't think I know of any other company that does something as similar like this. Have you ever seen another company that ran into this, or is this something that's completely unique? You fell into that niche market and just said, we got to tap into this.
Well, I haven't, to the extent that we're doing the private labels. To me, it's very unique. There are some other fundraising companies out there that are dipping their toe in the coffee market, but we're not afraid of competition. We welcome it. We feel like there's plenty of opportunities for everybody. However, I think we're the best at doing what we do. And, we look forward to keeping that segment of the business growing. And, to me, what's unique about our company is our fundraising coffee is still our premium specialty, organic, fair trade sourced beans. I don't want to disparage anybody else, but I'm not sure everybody is using their premium beans for something like fundraising, because they're going to give up part of the proceeds.
Sure, absolutely. And that's kind of where I wanted to go next in terms of coffee itself, being that we're a coffee podcast and we're talking a little bit about business inside of the coffee world. How much of that goes into the process? Because obviously you don't have like the most vast background, except for the years of experience that you've worked as a chef and understood flavors and background of that nature. How do you go by getting coffee itself?
Well, yeah, going back to the experience. So during COVID, I've watched, I don't know, I want to say thousands of videos about coffee, roasting coffee. I have to give a shout out to Mill City Roasters, who has a great educational program. They've got
Mill Cities is amazing. Absolutely, it is.
Yeah. So in fact, that our 6K roaster is a Mill City roaster. And I watched all their roast alongs, and then I would go to the warehouse and try and duplicate it. And so I mean, again, I want to say to anybody who's interested in starting their business, someday is today. Just get online, get the education, and then, you can't have analysis by paralysis. You don't want to, some people just watch the videos and never put it into practice. So got to make sure you're doing the work as well. And then as far as the beans, so I used, 3 different importers, and, everybody in the coffee industry is, I think things used to be held kind of close to the vest, but now people are willing to, put education out there, move the whole industry forward. And the importers are great, man. They just, obviously they love talking about coffee, and they educated me on, okay, Jim, here's the bean this is the bean that's going to be the workhorse in your roastery now. Let's talk about other origins that are going to be blending with that. And, again, my favorite thing is getting samples of beans and trying to figure out what to do with it. So at this point, I feel like I have, a great roasting system down where we develop bold, even our dark roasts are bold flavored, but not bitter. If you take it a little bit too far, you get that bitterness, and we've gotten great reviews on our coffee. I'm not trying to brag on us, but we're really proud of the comments we get and the unsolicited reviews we have online. It's been awesome.
What in the coffee world were you not expecting when you got into this, that it just came in and just, besides just learning as you go as well, because obviously there's only so many things that the video is going to show, and all of a sudden the one thing it didn't demonstrate, or at least didn't produce, has occurred. What are those aspects of the business as well as being in coffee that just kind of like, wow, I didn't expect that aspect of it?
Well, I would say, number one, the margins are pretty small in specialty coffee, so you have to pay attention to your extraneous expenses. And the second thing is the sheer volume of coffee available. So one of my large importers, I could go on their website and type in Brazil, and there's probably 30 different farmers that I could buy Brazil from.
Sure.
And the third thing is the fact that most of these origins of coffee production are very poor. And so there's a balance. So how do we help them? How do we help them pay their farm workers fair wages and develop, coffee growing techniques and technology without having to sell coffee at $30 a bag? So, the more experience I have in the industry, and the more I read about the industry, and there's so much to learn every day. I'm buying another book or watching another video. I think that's our biggest challenge as an industry, is taking care of the origins and somehow still making it affordable.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree with you more there. I'm looking at the website, and I love it because you offer a little bit of everything to everyone. You got K-Cups as well featured on here, whole bean, and then of course you can blend to order depending on what the purchaser currently wants. But you do have quite a few things on there, and I do love all the names that are taken on there. Like you said, 60AW for the combat medics, and $1 of that going to the USO, to the operations and helping the armed forces across the country and around the world here as well. So you also have different blends, including Dawn's Early Light. For anyone that doesn't know, that's a part of our national anthem in the United States, and of course Liberty Blend. What other items do you have available that help promote the company itself and just try to get you out there for all of the people looking on Instagram as well, or even just visiting the website? What are you also featuring there, Jim?
Yeah, we appreciate the opportunity to talk about the website. We're real proud of it. And, I think one of the neat things we offer is a variety pack. So you can get, 4 ounces of our most 4-ounce bags of our most popular coffees. So for anybody out there who wants to just give Liberty Beans coffee a try, or just is interested in specialty coffee and what the difference is between that and supermarket coffee, with us, the fact that we roast in small batches, you're going to get fresh coffee. Coffee aficionados, I'm sure, are aware that, coffee is best about 7 to 10 days off roast, so post roast, because we need a chance for it to degas and get the carbon dioxide off the beans. And that's why we have a one-way valve on our bags to let that CO2 out without letting oxygen in. So yeah, we're trying to get the best, freshest, premium roasted coffee to your doorstep at the peak of its flavor profile.
And just because we always get into this, and we talk this with guests all the time in regards to their own origin of coffee, but what's your relationship with coffee, Jim? Besides it being obviously the business venture, what is that connection that you have with coffee? Because it's not something they just I just fell into this coffee world. You have a deeper meaning with coffee itself that maybe you have memories of.
Yeah. So, earlier in my life, I always was a black coffee drinker. So I just enjoyed the flavor, the nuance of the coffee. My wife was always a cream and sugar girl, and we've got her off the sugar now, so now it's just a touch of cream. But I think, again, with my culinary background and the years of working in industry and then teaching, one of my favorite things is just I do a blind taste test for myself, and I write down, of course, we're coffee snobs, we call it cupping, and I'll write down the flavor nuances that I taste, and then I'll see what the origin is, and I'll look it up, in James Hoffman's book, who, he's the go-to guy for coffee resource.
Sure. And
see how close I came to how he says that coffee should taste. And, when I'm pretty close or I nail it, I'm like, yeah, okay, I think this is a good path we're on. And, I can't wait to see our coffee in some retail stores. That's our next step.
That's where I kind of wanted to take this now, because you're obviously in business. There's always that whole idea of, okay, well, we can't just stay stagnant and just status quo. We have to look at possibility of growth, and growth means, like you said, warehouse and bigger devices and bigger roasteries and more clientele. But it's not just about selling coffee. It's also about increasing what you're trying to do. And so what is the future for Liberty Beans Coffee Company?
Yeah, so definitely we're making a big push into retail. We're in a few local markets in our area, and, I'm happy growing slow on the retail side, because I want to make sure that the coffee on the shelf is as fresh as we say it is. You go into a large chain of grocery stores, and you really don't know how old that coffee is on the shelf. So we want to make sure that we're able to turn the coffee over quickly in the stores, that we can deliver the service and make sure the coffee's fresh. But for sure, for us to grow and to meet our goals, we need to make a push into retail. And we have some other interesting things I think we're working on. One is a steepable coffee bag that, similar to a tea bag, for those that are, maybe campers, hunters, RV people, somebody who doesn't want the waste of the plastic of the pods, the K-cup pods. We're coming up with a steepable coffee bag that's 100% compostable.
That is pretty good. I like that. I've seen those. Obviously, the steepable coffee has become a little bit more mainstay now for a lot of other companies out there, but it is an interesting little prospect, especially for those that are getting into the world of coffee, maybe transitioning maybe from a little bit of tea, and there's a great deal of technology that is being adapted from tea to coffee, and just the ideas that come into play for those new ideals that you're trying to get into off the floor here. But Jim, tell me a little bit about the positive side of what you've done so far. What were those things that really you weren't expecting that just really made your day in terms of this business?
It definitely be the interaction with our customers when they, send us an email or leave us a review. That definitely, puts a smile on your face, and that's really why we're doing it. I mean, sure, we want to build kind of a little retirement future for ourselves and maybe a legacy for our kids if they're ever interested. But really, we're roasting coffee for consumers, and for them to tell us that they love it and to have so many repeat customers is just the best. And then the fundraising part of it, we did a fundraiser for our local police benevolent association, the PBA, and for them to be selling our coffee and raising money. The local elementary school in our neighborhood did a killer job on a fundraiser. And not only does it help us get our name out there, but they're making a profit on it that they're turning into books or computers or whatever it might be. So to help those people has been very rewarding. And then, listening to our customers and telling us, we really had no desire to do flavored coffees, and people kept asking us, when are you going to do flavored? So again, I wanted to make sure that we could still use our premium beans and make a good flavored coffee that we could, that is profitable. And so that's what we did. So now we offer a couple of flavors as well.
Well, it is fascinating, your story that gets from the start, from being a teacher all the way to all of a sudden owning your own roastery, Jim. That is amazing. Like you said, it's just a matter of picking it up, learning, and then just getting started, not having that paralysis about wanting to get something going. I applaud you.
Oh, thank you. I encourage anybody out there as a desire, whether it's a small coffee shop or that's another thing. Everybody's asking us, when you're going to open up a retail coffee shop. It's on the radar, but we'll see when that'll take place. But yeah, I encourage anybody out there who has a thought about starting your own business to get after it. I mean, there's no time like the present, and there's always a way to find funding, and there's always a way to find the information. So absolutely. I wish you all the best.
Absolutely. Yeah. Jim, where can people find you?
Yeah, so libertybeanscoffee.com. That's our website. At Liberty Beans Coffee on Instagram, and Liberty Beans Coffee on Facebook. And, go easy on my posts. It's usually me posting. I do the best I can. Most of my photos are just organic photos that I've taken. But, I always try and include a little motivational quote along with my posts about our coffee. So, please check us out. We appreciate it.
Absolutely. And check them out, libertybeanscoffee.com. And then, of course, on IG at Liberty Beans Coffee. Jim, thank you so much.
My pleasure.
Absolutely.
All the best to you.
Thank you.
Year, and yeah, everybody keep getting after it out there.
Thank you. And don't forget to subscribe to Everything Coffee on Apple, Spotify, or anywhere else you get your podcasts, and follow us on Instagram at everything.coffee.podcast, and check us out at everythingcoffee.podbean.com. Thank you for listening and doing your part in supporting local businesses in your city and around the world.